Welcome to the next chapter of As the Story Grows. I'm Brian Patton. Today we welcome Fit for a King bassist Ryan Tuck O'Leary to the podcast. Fit for a King's new record, The Hell We Create, is out today on Solid State Records. Tuck talks about the pros and cons of headlining versus being an opening band, joining Fit for a King, sticking with Solid State Records, Heaven, and a lot more. The Hell We Create is an incredibly emotional record, and it is absolutely worth your time. Over on Patreon this week, I released an episode of After Dark with my top 5 favorite horror films and favorite types of candy in honor of Halloween. Patreon.com/asthestorygrows. Enjoy hanging out with Tuck from Fit for a King.
The others!
Hi. Sorry,
Hi.
I just woke up from a little nap action.
Oh, it's all right, man.
We just got home from tour on Monday. Got a little bit of those. I don't know. Call them like the tour blues, I guess. Like my wife actually came out with me the last few days, and last night we
nice.
both had kind of the night sweats a little bit and shit. So you're always like, well, do I have tour aids, or do I go out in public yet or not? So she has to go to work versus
Oh, man.
I get to be lazy and sleep. So I have just put myself in my I'm just hanging out in my little card podcast room myself and
Nice.
zonked out for the last 2 hours instead of being productive.
Oh, man.
So yeah, it was fucking great. Thanks for having me.
That's
man.
great. Yeah, you're welcome. Glad to have you on. And yeah, you're about to get right back on the road.
Oh yeah. It's gonna be a nice break. I don't know, we get like 10 days off or so, and then we're back out with the boys and girl. Should be fun. Very excited. The first half was wild. No complaints. One of the things with our band we thought about going into this tour in all seriousness was like, well, are you gonna out-sing I Prevail and Pierce the Veil?
Right.
You're not gonna fucking do that.
No.
You're not gonna out-sing them. So what you should do is bring the lowest IQ energy in the room. Just be the craziest, most fun, entertaining show you can be.
Yeah.
And hope that the kids resonate with that. And I think we're doing a good job of that. Because there are a lot of people that are there. Most of the people that are there are just waiting to see I Prevail, or they're waiting to see Pierce the Veil.
Mm-hmm.
9 out of 10 have never heard of our band, have no idea what a Fit for the Kings is, don't care. And, it's been really, really cool to see how that like affects our band, because you do other tours. Say you do a tour with like August Burns Red, right? And you assume most people that know August Burns Red know Fit for a King.
Yeah.
And we take some fans and stuff like that. And that's very helpful versus like this one, just even like my personal socials have gone up by like 20%.
Oh, wow.
Where I had my first like personal viral video, stuff like that, where the impact of little things like a hashtag king for a day,
Yeah.
wonders that shit can do for your social media. Pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
So it's been a cool experience. Definitely like a lot of learning for us, and like just kind of figuring out your place,
Mm-hmm.
because that's two really big, powerful bands in one room. So we're pretty much a fucking ghost. We're just like hanging out. We get our job done. We get out of the way. Go, okay, have fun. Like, figure it out. Try to provide as little stress as possible.
Yeah. Do you enjoy that more or less than like a big headliner where you gotta play for 2 hours and everyone's there for you? Is it just like...
Oh, I think I like it more. It's hard to say, like I definitely like headlining is a pretty special thing, and like having people sing back your words and stuff is like it's as dope as it gets. You know? So I definitely it's hard to compare the two, but it's like when you walk into a room and you know that almost nobody knows who you are, and you get to be who you want to be and only give them this one impression of you, it's a special feeling.
Yeah.
Versus like when you're headlining and people know your band, they know your material, and they expect a certain something from you. If you don't deliver that certain something, they might be disappointed. These people, they couldn't give a flying fuck. So there's almost no room for disappointment. It's just either you get them or you don't. And it's just been cool to see what these young like fans that have never heard of our band resonate with. Because I do think sonically we're really close to an I Prevail. So like if you like I Prevail, there's a really high chance you could like Fit for a King. So yeah, it's hard to say which I'd prefer. I think it's hard to trade the value of people singing back your songs and like that energy and contact. But yeah, hard to say. Can't pick one or the other. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, let's go back. Where'd you grow up?
Oh, I grew up in upstate New York, Red Hook, New York. It's a small town in the Hudson Valley. It's like an hour and a half north of the city, right in between Poughkeepsie and Albany. And really cute little town, like small graduating class of like 250 kids, you know, theater nerd, but also terrible student and overall jackass. Yeah, it was great though. Loved it. You know, I had a very positive experience in school other than being pretty bad at it. You know, naturally, some things like everybody, like when you're the only guy in your grade that wears your sister's pants to school, you're probably going to get bullied a little bit. But other than that kind of standard shit, loved it. You know, very, very nice childhood. My parents are out of a fucking movie. They're so cute and they love each other, which most people are miserable and don't. So very, you know, lucky the way I grew up. Yeah, I think few people kind of shine a light on that these days. I think, you know, most of the time, even when they had a good life, they want to paint it a little bit black to like let that artistry out. Where I'm just like, nah, dude, like everything that's fucked up that I think and have done, I did it to myself. I just didn't do that shit. You know, they gave me, you know, a lot of love and ability. So then, you know, it's cool. I will be seeing them this weekend. But yeah, I live in Jersey City. It's like 20 minutes outside of Manhattan. Sadly, technically on the New Jersey side, I haven't quite adjusted to that. But it's cool. I like it. It's like kind of like living in the suburbs, but you're really close to Manhattan.
Yeah, nice. That's right. Yeah. What got you into music?
I mean, one, my parents have really good taste, so I grew up like listening to good shit. And then my neighbors played in bands and had really good taste as well. Like listened to every cool band that you had never heard of. And then on top of that, like, so I had neighbors making bands and playing and shit. And then from our area, a little known band called Coed and Cambria came up, and they played their last like big local show in the area at the Chance. It was them and local openers. And my mom took me and my friends. I was in like 8th grade.
Oh, wow.
My mom took me and my friends to go see the show, and it just changed my life when they played the song Never Ender. That's the one that really I always go back to, that clicked for me. Or when they played that, I was like, yup, I gotta do this. Like, this is it. And I've been playing in shows ever since. Like, my parents, when I was a kid in high school, they would, I was like, other than being a bad student, I was a relatively good kid. I never like smoked, drank, anything. And I was the vice president of my Students Against Destructive Decisions, SAD program. So I started putting on shows at the high school to raise money for SAD. And then I was like, yo, there's too much of a bag in this. My mom and dad would just rent out the local Elks Lodge for me.
Nice.
And I started putting on shows at like 15. And that's how I would fund my bands. Like, my band needs a new fucking PA system for practice. Band wants recording gear, something like that. We're on a fucking show.
Nice.
Money. So that was really like what got me into like the underground scene. Was never been the best player. I'm sure you can watch most of my videos and attest to that. Be like, oh, he's just the spinny guy. He's not trying to be a shred lord. Yeah, never wanted to be shred god. I just wanted to be like Story of the Year or The Chariot and put on a show, because there's like really cool local band from our area, and this guy in my class named Steve-O, and he was in this band called Ghost Among the Dead that almost signed to Solid State back in the day until they kind of messed it up. But that guy, he was the shit. Had the coolest stage performance. All the ladies loved him. Effortlessly cool. And I was just like, yo, I want to be like that dude. And those couple things, man, just really, really sucked me in. And now, 18 years later, I'm still an adult scenester.
How'd you end up in Fit for a King?
I had a buddy of mine who I played in a band with back in the day called Visions. He was the singer of it. He ended up quitting the band to become the tour manager of Sworn In, and then Die Hard is Murder, and a couple bands. He met Fit on the road, and the bass player had like kind of bounced, and they were like, yeah, we need somebody new. They tried out some people, blah, blah. And he put my hat in the ring a little bit and was like, hey, I got this guy I'd love to introduce you to if you're open to out of state auditions. They said yes. And I sent them pre-production for the song Breakaway. As part of my audition, they sent me the instrumental. It's a song that's on Slave to Nothing. So I wrote all my parts and sent that back, and those kind of as you hear it on the record. And then I sent them the song Selfish Eyes, which is on Slave to Nothing. And that was a song I had written with an ex-bandmate, Max Rye, shout out. And then, just like videos of me just like singing into my phone, like raw shit. Just be like, here, like I can actually do this. Like it's not bullshit, just auto-tune and stuff. And took like 3 or 4 months of texting with them, and I didn't really know if it would happen. Mm-hmm. And my like cute little story that goes along with it, which ties into our band a lot, is, I was just waiting on them to give me an answer. And I was in a rough part in my life. Like, I was living in a house with like 7 other people. I was partying fucking hard. I just started a new job at another restaurant because I got fucking fired. And like, just life was not great. And I asked my mom, I was just like crying to her. I'm just like, why won't they just pick me? Why won't I just get this chance? And she was like, well, are you praying about it? And I was like, no, I haven't. And that night I did. And the next day, Jared called me. So, it's one of those weird little things where I was like, huh, all right. So all you fucking flat earth assholes out there listening to this shit, aliens are real. That's what I meant by that story. So yeah, that's kind of how I joined Fit. So that was right before the recording of Slave to Nothing. We went and did a short tour with Kublai Khan and Sirens and Sailors. Then I joined the band and we made that album, and most of you don't like it. So sorry.
Is it not received well, or?
That and Descendants are like at the bottom of like what people listen to, and then it kind of goes up. Yeah, it's not people's favorite, but it's also not our favorite.
Sure.
I loved a lot of the stuff I said and like did on that album, but it's extremely hard to perform. I had never done an album before. I'd only done like songs here and there in local bands, and it just the band didn't like each other. They didn't really get along very good. Like at that time, like there was a disconnect with the three of them, like outside of me coming into this. There was a disconnect with the three of them and a lack of direction on where to go. And I think it was hard after an album where like Creation Destruction was received really well. And people were like, yeah, this is very like to the point of what Fit for a King is. And they could have just written Creation Destruction 2.0. And they didn't, because Sempiternal was out and North Lane was a thing. And we were just like so confused as to what the future of metalcore was,
Right, yeah.
So that I think proves to be difficult, where people don't really think about that all the time, how much influence outside music has on a band, where you see these trends going. And it's like, look at like when Knocked Loose blew up. All of a sudden, every one of you motherfuckers was doing panic chords and trying to sound like him. And most of you didn't like that shit beforehand. You just like it now.
Yeah.
And as someone who's been an avid lover of panic chords since Norma Jean and Botch, because Botch is, the true Norma Jean, regardless, I have always been into that. So it's funny to see how influence can dictate how people feel about a sonic value. And that's artists included, ourselves, so yeah. But then there's the new album, The Hell We Create, the greatest Fit for a King masterpiece of all time.
Yeah.
And everyone will be like, wow, this is the best album I've ever heard. And if you have anything else to say, you can go to hell.
Yeah. Fit for King's always one of those bands. It's like, I always buy the CDs. I got all the digital records. I'm like, I know the albums are going to be good, but they're not. For whatever reason, it's not a band I come back to often. So as like rediscovering the discography over the last few weeks, and just like, oh yeah, it's all really fucking good.
Thanks, man.
Why don't I listen to this more?
I think it's hard with how much music is coming out these days. Like there was like a record for the amount of songs that were uploaded in one day on Spotify, like this past week or the week before, where it was like 100,000 songs in one day. It's hard. I mean, I'm a creature of habit, so I find an album, like a singular album. Like my current one is The War on Drugs, I Don't Live Here Anymore. And I have listened to that thing into the ground. And I still will until something else catches me that way. And then I'll listen to that into the ground. And then, everyone's got different ways they listen to music, man. I appreciate you saying that you enjoy it regardless of, maybe how many times you go back to it or not. Yeah. Very kind of you to say.
It's always a surprise when it like, you shuffle iTunes and then it's like, oh, who's this band? I really like them. Oh, Fit for King or X band that you forget you listened to.
Oh yeah, that happens. I love the rediscovery though. It's cool.
Yeah, it's great. How has the relationship with Solid State Records been? You putting another record out with them. I know that somewhere in the midst of your tenure, they sold all their back catalog to Capital Christian or whatever that was. Like, how have things like, changed with them? And
well, he owns it now. Brandon bought all his shit back. That money grubbing. No, I'm just kidding. No, Brandon's awesome. There's a reason why we've stayed all this time. We've actually re-signed with them 2 times.
Nice.
So essentially, being with a record label is a bank loan. All it is a bank loan. And it is one that essentially most bands, I'm going to use a little background information first before I go into why we stay with Solid State. So say you're Rise Records. You sign fucking 10 bands, you record $10,000 albums, you throw them all at the wall. Sleeping with Sirens sticks. The rest of the bands fall into the ether. Then you continue this process. And the cool thing about that, if you're the band, is say your band doesn't take, you don't owe the label that money. You just break up and you're dead. And then no one cares and you're done. And that's why they get you into signing these god-awful, terrible contracts and basically getting you to admit, like, yeah, like, you're worthless unless we, like, put a lot of effort into you. And then maybe you'll be worth something. But until then, you should definitely sign this terrible paperwork. And so for us, essentially what happened was before our contract was up and we were able to be free agents, they would come at us the album before and be like, well, do you guys want to renegotiate before you hit free agency? Just like in sports.
Yeah.
And we renegotiated twice now. And it's put us in a really healthy position where, we are actually able to make money off of our past albums. We have everything that we want from the label. We have great percentages. I could call them right now, say, hey, can you do a backflip? He'd say, probably not, but I'll try. Like, they're as good as it gets when it comes to that stuff. They just don't have the steroid power.
Yeah.
Like a Fearless Records, they have like a crazy steroid power where their bands kind of end up everywhere. So it depends on what side of the fence you're looking at, because the other thing that Kirby and I, are chasing is financial stability for the long term. So some of the things that you would give up to be on like a bigger label that may make your band bigger, but in doing so, you may give up a lot of shit as well. Yeah. So it's a double-edged sword, man. It's always tough to make these kinds of choices, but that's essentially why we have ended up where we've ended up.
Yeah.
And it's been awesome. Yeah, I love the team over there, and Brandon's been a real joy to work with. We just saw him, I don't know, like 2 weeks ago, something like that.
Yeah. Has it been weird being on the label as like with their independence again? They've really transitioned out of like, and as digital music has taken over and replaced the CD market, like they've really like left behind this like Christian stigma. Has that been tough being on a label that like carries that baggage? Or
oh yeah, I mean, thank God they're starting to let go of it, because it's frustrating, man. Like, it's not a thing anymore. There aren't Christian metalcore bands the way that it was in the 90s. Like, Brandon was really lucky that he got that when he got it, and he got those bands that he bought from Chad, and he fucking had the craziest lineup, and that shit worked.
Yeah.
Wild. Not a thing anymore.
No.
So if Solid State wants to survive, Solid State has to adapt. Thank God the Devil Wears Prada wrote the fucking amazing album that they did. I think that's super helpful. But yeah, it's tough, man. Like, a lot of people definitely stigmatized us as a band where they think, for example, they think one thing of our band, and then we meet day one, and I say half of the things I say while I'm smoking a joint, and they're like, whoa, hold on. I thought you guys were like the Goody Two Shoes Christian band from Texas. And I'm like, no. We, at one point, yeah. But, I definitely come from a little bit cut from the cloth of the, I don't know, New York thing, a little bit more of the, 7 Hail Marys and I'm gonna fucking be fine, whatever kind of thing. And I think it's been a really healthy experience for people to realize that God comes in all shapes and sizes.
Mm-hmm.
because it was a really tight, stigmatized, small group, and it's like pretty frustrating. Like,
Yeah.
because you talk to a lot of people that come from that world, and I would say some of the most closed-minded people are like really strong Christians
Mm-hmm.
because they believe that one thing so strong that they're unwilling to acknowledge anything else as fact.
Mm-hmm.
And I just the way that I've kind of experienced religion, I just don't want it to be exclusionary. I don't really care what God looks like. I don't care if God is an alien. I don't care if, you know, whatever it may be that actually turns out to be it, if something.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't care less.
Yeah.
I just want to, like, the whole concept of heaven to me is just cool.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, so if I'm not a piece of shit, I can go to this place when I die. Hopefully, see everybody I love, possibly a whole bunch of virgins, and maybe like Natalie Portman will be dead, and like my wife won't want anything to do with me. That sounds pretty cool. I would like to go there if I could. And people who say that they don't want to do that are fucking stupid. How could you not want to go there? That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So, that's just kind of how I've pitched it to a lot of people in
Mm-hmm.
my life, where sure, you can grow up, fearing brimstone and hellfire, or you can grow up wishing to get in this super badass club that only super nice, awesome people go to. And all you have to do is be super nice and awesome.
So don't be a dick.
Don't be a fucking dick. So that's, I don't know. Long story short, it's been weird. We've done well with it. It's definitely one thing that if you ask Ryan Kirby about it, he's going to have a much cleaner, better presentation of these thoughts. And I by no means mean to be polarizing by the way that I take or discuss my religious endeavors. But it is also my sincere feeling towards God. And I don't think that my presentation affects my relationship.
Yeah.
So I guess, a lot of people think that, where they're like, well, if I say this dirty thing, like God is going to smite me. Don't be such a bitch. You'll be all right. So that's my take. But yeah.
How did the COVID pandemic affect you guys?
Oh, terrible. We were in so much debt going into it because we were 5 days into a worldwide headliner. So we had like a trailer full of merch.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like just bought every flight ever, like all this stuff. I had never experienced real depression or anxiety, and that definitely came about. Kirby had just adopted 2 kids, and his wife had a stroke. And the kids weren't like baby kids. They're like teenage kids. It was chaos, dude. Like, can't even put into words how miserable and stressful it was. I would do just about anything to not go back to that.
Yeah.
It was the worst. I mean, when I've been playing shows since I was 14 years old. Like, I've been doing it longer than I haven't at this point. So when it goes away, which I didn't think ever would happen, we definitely felt very naked, So it's tough. yeah, band was in a really hard position. I think we wrote a beautiful record out of it.
Yeah.
But overall, we were just in such a different place because we had just written The Path, which was a very positive, triumphant record. And we were ready to like go on this Parkway Drive tour and like do all this headlining and all this shit. And then the world ended.
Yeah.
And it was like, nobody wants to like pretend to be triumphant during a time when they're all the most miserable they've ever been. And I don't blame them for it. So that was hard. But I think it was a helpful tool. I think that subconsciously those that did really like listen to it and give into it, it was a helpful thing for lifting people out a little bit. Not to like pat ourselves on the back, but if anything, you know. Yeah, that shit was fucking awful.
Yeah.
I would do anything to never experience that again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was tough. How was it for you?
Oh, it's the worst.
Yeah, I think, you know, unless you're a hermit, that shit was just terrible. Like, I'm a very social person and really feed off of the energy of others like a leech.
Yeah.
And it's like taking the sun away from me. That shit is just terrible.
Yeah.
Plus, I live in New York, so it was like, it was bad. It was bad. All you fucking pieces of shit left and bought everything upstate. And it's crazy. The whole city was empty. It's wild. But I liked hanging out with my wife. I will say that. That was really cool. I got married and I hung out with her every day. And that was sick because we'd never done that because we'd been together the whole time most of the time I've been in the band.
Yeah.
So out of our like 6 years now, I've toured the whole time. So that was the only time we got to be normal. So it was pretty sick.
Every day I'm on death row, repeating over and over again. Was I born just to die slow, breaking down before the bed? Every day I'm on death row, repeating over and over again. Was I born just to die slow, breaking down before the bed? Oh God, I've got a story to tell. I've touched his hands, let him drag me to hell. Oh God, is there a soul to steal? There's wrapped in
The Hell We Create out October 28th. You talked about some of the things that happened with Ryan's life. This is a super deep and heavy themed record. Was there anything musically you wanted to try to create or do differently on this album?
Yeah, we really listened to the fans on this one. And after The Path, we acknowledged that we didn't maybe get heavy enough and that we could have gone heavier. And I think that The Hell We Create has a really good consistency of like, yeah, we have our songs that like are a little more singing friendly, but at least when we go into the breakdowns, they're much more what we think our fans want. But the most important like aspect of this album was to focus on Kirby and to kind of lift him up and to get him to be a little bit more bearing, a little bit more honest, and just like really milk the emotions out of him. And I think it really worked. I think that when you listen to this album, you will know Ryan better. And I think that that's as a music listener, that's what you want. I think you want to not only be a fan of the band, but you want to feel like you know that artist better than other people know that artist. And I think that that is one of the things that will really shine out of this album is you will definitely know Ryan and know his life better. And that will allow you to be a closer Fit for a King fan.
Yeah. Because of the Path being released in the pandemic, was this your first experience with the record, kind of doing like a long promotion cycle with releasing a lot of singles and videos like in the lead up?
I mean, technically during the Path, we put out a lot of singles. I think we put out like 5. And some people were butthurt about that, but it's just part of the Spotify game where it's
how music works now.
I have to put out singles, otherwise I don't get promotion. If I don't get promotion, no one listens to the record, and then I don't recoup my bills and I don't make any money. So I have to put out a lot of promotion. And it's been interesting. I think that we toned it back just enough on this one where it was 4 in terms of like, you know, Reaper did, you know, I think it was a good like first single of like getting you excited for the record, but I don't think we've been too overbearing with the singles where we haven't, like, as some fans would say, you're ruining the record by putting out too much material. You know, we did a good job of balancing it, I think. I think it's special. I think it's the most like heartwarming, sincere piece of work that we've put out. So, you know, whether you love all the riffs, don't love all the riffs, love the choruses, don't love all the choruses, whatever side of the fence you're on, I think that hopefully you will connect with some of the stuff that Ryan or myself had to say on this album. And maybe it'll help you a little bit, because it certainly helped us. It was a very cathartic experience. So, yeah, thanks for having me today. Appreciate you. And, you know, hope everyone likes the record when you get to spin it. So go listen to The Hell We Create, out October 28th.
We make our beds in our purpose, we're in for the best. We're marching towards the edge of times like this.
Thanks for listening to As the Story Grows. Our intro music was written and composed by Jeremy Hunt. The As the Story Grows theme is by Bob Nana. If you like what you hear, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and give us a rating and review. If you'd like to support the show financially, you can join us at patreon.com/asthestorygrows. Be a part of our community and join the ongoing conversation over on Discord. If you enjoy this episode, share it on social media with your friends. Much appreciated, and thanks for listening.
I never felt so young.